Before starting the video, I want to talk about my recent experiences about AAA gaming first. When I look at people comparing Battlefield 6 over the newest Call of Duty game with full of AI slop, I realized I could only watch from outside and not even able to experience how shit the game is. Not only this game listed at $70 and also requires tons of storage, but also I heard it had some weird stuff like this. This shit looks like a Fortnite heaven though, not gonna lie. If you wonder why did I start to talk about Black Ops instantly, because it looks ass, but also doesn't even affect me at all. Like, I grew up a bit poor, always had to use low performance PCs, and since I was both poor and my parents believed playing games is a waste of time, I had no choice but pirate games that my PC can run on. So I never actually had a chance to feel excited about newest games like other people. So in this video I want to talk about how it feels to be a gamer as a third worlder and how this affected my perspective on gaming in general. Certainly the first thing I want to talk about is there are, of course, not everyone has those shiny RGB equipments and stuff like that, and even the chair I sat on was one of those plastic ones, and since I couldn't afford games back then, the only games that I could play was either those pirated games or free-to-play games. I think the worst part about these games would be free-to-play games tricks you to play more and makes you addictive to them. For example, I was playing Fortnite since Season 5, sometimes I quit and return multiple times. Yeah, it was fun, but things are f***ed up when you enter the competitive area. Except League of Legends, by the way, it's a horrible game in both casual and competitive. That's why I play in ARAM instead. There is also microtransactions, so even if the game itself is free, cosmetics and other things are not, and sometimes depends on the game you play, things can be pay to win as well, and personally that's pretty annoying. Like, I can already afford games and cosmetics, and then you buy stuff that I might never achieve in the game. That's a fun killer. So anyway, basically any free to play games are either makes you have fun, or just drain your soul and regret your life choices. But there is another option for having fun, and it's called...
Yeah, man, got that bird game 3.
Remember when Rockstar somehow made a remaster for GTA Trilogy series and it was terrible when it was out? Yeah, I thought the same. And they removed the original games from Steam as well. At least I'm glad I didn't even bother to buy that, because I already played the original versions of the game several years ago, and I wanna talk about these old games today. Because as I mentioned earlier, most of people's parents didn't really take gaming seriously, so you probably have to use their computer to play games, which is usually not powerful and only exists for making Excel sheets. And most of third world countries didn't have piracy policies like Western countries, so the only way to play these games was either using emulators, buying a cheap knockoff version from your local shop, or just directly downloading from third-party websites. And it was pain in the ass if the game you wanna play had protection or barely cracked, so it usually took some time to run the game eventually. But if you download the game from some suspicious websites, well, your PC will probably get viruses and your parents will probably yell at you for your own choices. Also, speaking about old games, most people also prefer to play indie games, since it's cheap and usually not takes too much storage space. But I remember some people grow up so poor that they were also pirating indie games as well. And honestly, this topic is pretty controversial, so if you wanna share your own opinion about this, feel free to leave a comment. But you might be thinking, like, why this guy talking about just PC games and not consoles? Well, it's because...
My life is like a video game, trying hard to beat the stage.
This also includes the same thing as I mentioned earlier, since consoles are usually cost more than PCs in third world countries, and parents might often see console devices as unnecessary time drain machines. Some people never had a chance to play on consoles, including me. And to be honest, I never grew up with Nintendo in the first place, since they don't really have a market share in my country, plus everything they made are heavily taxed unfortunately. Okay, I wanna put a side note here. Maybe it's better to be like that. I didn't even know Nintendo was greedier than EA itself. And also learned that I wouldn't actually own the console anyways. As a conclusion, everything I said about consoles caused me to play on my PC even more often. But it took some years to get that I actually have to buy games and save some cash for it. Which means...
It's just me, Gabe Newell.
Well, unfortunately they already declared that we don't own the games on our libraries and they have a power to remove any game if they want, but personally I understand why people chose Steam over other competitors, because it's just generally fine, at least comparing to other launchers I guess. And as a third worlder, the best thing about Steam is sales. Every month usually some games are on sales, and no, they don't do sales like 10% or else. Most of sales can be up to 95%, which I experienced it with Battlefield 1 several months ago. It was dirt cheap, so I instantly bought the game and experienced the World War I myself. And I'll be honest, that was a really good game. Like, genuinely good game. Unfortunately though, they got support to Argentinian and Turkish currencies, which is pretty understandable, so they placed these countries into Latam and MENA regions. To be honest, the games are still a bit expensive to be since the US dollar exchange rate is a bit awful, okay maybe even worse. At least I bought the Deltarune at $12 and it was really beautiful. But in conclusion, as a third world gamer myself, I prefer to follow Steam sales often because I don't really want to pirate those games and damage my computer with that. Before I finish the video, I think there are several things that I should mention in this video as well, and I believe this is the important reason why I am making this video. So let's talk about
For the love of God! For the love of God!
Just think about this, you live in a third world country, you have a weak purchase power, salaries are pretty low compared to western countries, and eventually your parents doing everything they can to survive, including you growing up with them. And you experience basically everything I mentioned in this video. But despite everything, you want to play a game that your PC can handle, so you ask people on internet to get some help, and then they just reply with, just buy a better PC bro. And then you get called lazy by people on the internet because things are cheap for them, but not for you. You experience all the pain and struggles because your president didn't know how to boost your economy, so you ended up living like this. I don't know how should I express my feelings on that, but seeing my foreign friends playing all the newest games while I can only watch makes my blood boil. Not even mentioning some games might not be available in several third world countries, and in online games, they play the games with higher speed because they don't have a server nearby them. Honestly, there are lots of reasons we can count why gaming in third world countries are not taken seriously, but I'm not gonna do that in this video. All I can say, things have changed over the last decade, and I saw great video games that not only was great experiment, but also saw people created communities and some people even created their own jobs and even developed their own games with that. So as a conclusion in general, I hope people understand the diversity between all the players, and I wish you, the viewer, would be able to play the game you want on any device you prefer. Thanks for watching, until the next video, goodbye and have fun.